Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 27th of May 2021. Yesterday I was talking about being jab refuseniks, how we are being treated like the original refuseniks in the Soviet Union. What I didn't realise yesterday, or know yesterday, is really that much about who the refuseniks were. I've actually done a little bit of research and I know a lot more about them now, and I did think they had something to do with the Soviet Union and being kind of dissidents within that entity, but I didn't know very much about them. And it transpires that they were a group of Jewish people in the Soviet Union who wanted to move out of the Soviet Union and its restrictions to Israel. And it's kind of originated in 1950 when I think Israel passed a law saying that any Jewish person from anywhere in the world could go and live in Israel if they wanted to and get citizenship, I guess, pretty easily. And Stalin didn't like that at all, and instead of letting them go, anyone who wanted to go, he actually started persecuting them. Now, of course, Russia and the Soviet Union have got a really bad history as far as treatment of Jewish people is concerned anyway, going way back. Maybe not quite as bad as Nazi Germany, but not far off. And I do know that Stalin was in the process of building camps and transporting the Jewish population of the Soviet Union to the Far East, Siberia, and God knows what would have happened to them. Most likely, another Holocaust. And it is only because he died, unfortunately for him and fortunately for pretty much everybody else, he died at kind of the right time, and that never happened. But this group of Jewish people still wanted to leave the Soviet Union, coming all the way through to the late 80s and Gorbachev's era. And I think it was in the 80s where the Refusnik movement really took off. It wasn't only in the Soviet Union but all over the world, trying to help these Soviet Union Jewish people get to Israel. And the good news is the Refuseniks won. Yeah, that's right, they actually won. And what I'll do is I'll put a link to a video which tells you all about them if you want to learn more about the Refuseniks. But yeah, they won, and they were actually instrumental in the collapse of the Soviet Union. They weren't the only factor, but they were influential in that. And it was all done by protests and marches and demonstrations. I think at times there was sort of about 1 million people demonstrating in Washington DC, and Ronald Reagan, when he met up with Gorbachev, said, look, I've got 1 million Jewish people on my doorstep. I can't really sort of do anything with you until you sort of get this thing sorted out with these refuseniks. And yeah, it was only a couple of years later that the Soviet Union collapsed and the refuseniks were finally able to go to Israel. So I found that a really fascinating story. So have a watch of this video if you want to learn more about them. But yeah, just take heart that the refuseniks actually won. So another aim goal by the mainstream media, sort of calling the likes of us refuseniks, because the refuseniks won, and just like we're gonna win. And just as the original refuseniks won, we're going to win by keeping up our protests and our demonstrations, both large and small. Obviously a nice big shopping trip coming up on Saturday, of course, which I'll be talking about in my video tomorrow, I should think. But moving on, I have also been watching the Greater Reset, day 2, which is they call Regenerating the Earth. Now, I know a couple of people who watch my videos have been finding it hard to sort of watch the videos. I think the link I put for it yesterday for some reason wasn't working, but you can actually get to it by let's have a look here. Yeah, if you just go to thegreaterreset.org and onto their website, that web address, and if you scroll down, I think it's about halfway down, there's a little email contact form. Submit your name and email, and then they'll send you the updates to this event that they're doing, and then you can hopefully then watch the episodes, both either live or the sort of playback, recorded versions, which will appear on their site in due course, I should think. But yeah, day 2, I've been through that, and it's all about kind of community farming and small time farming, growing your own sort of food, which some of these guys, some of the speakers they had on day 2 sort of think is highly imperative that we all do. Might be a little bit scare tactics there, but in some ways, but yeah, and I think if you're at all interested in growing your own food, day 2's a really good one to watch. One of the speakers was a lady called Marjory Wildcraft, and she's from thegrownetwork.com, so just go to thegrownetwork.com, and she's got this little philosophy of grow half, she calls it, so grow half your own food. I'm sure they describe it a lot better than I can on their site, so if you go there. But in her presentation, she was basically saying you can grow a lot of food just with 2 4.5 foot by 12 foot, which gives you about 100 square foot, I think, beds. So I know you need a little bit of room, you need a bit of a garden, but not a huge garden. It's not a huge space, and it's something I've been considering, so I might kind of go onto that grownetwork.com myself and see what's involved and see if it's feasible for me to get a couple of beds sort of going on out there. Can't do any harm, and it might actually be a nice little sort of hobby to start up, if not something that's a lot more beneficial if things start getting as bad as what some of these guys were saying. So another person who was speaking was a guy called Curtis Stone. He was an interesting speaker as well. There's a few other ones as well. Well, I found pretty much all the speakers there really interesting, but Curtis Stone has got a site called libertyontheland.com, which is kind of a truther podcast. It's not just all about growing your own food, it's all kinds of stuff. So I'm glad I found that, and I think that's going to be another source of information for me and a source of entertainment in the evenings. So libertyontheland.com looks like a good podcast to watch as well. So just a final word on this Greater Reset kind of event that's going on at the moment. I don't know if you've managed to see any yet, but what you'll sort of find is probably a couple of things. A lot of it's a little bit kind of unorganized and glitchy, and you have to kind of wait around a bit while they sort of sort themselves out, kind of thing. Well, that's only because the whole movement believes in just getting away from all the centralised and big time companies and organisations and getting back to, you know, smaller, much smaller, localised things, and that includes technology. So they are using kind of, I suppose, websites and video and all the rest of it, video hosting and everything that is just from small companies. So essentially it means going back in time about 15 years, but I think that explains why it's a little bit glitchy. But it's worth bearing with them, because when things get going and the speakers get going, it is really, really good information. And another thing is, not all the stuff they come out with and not all the speakers are going to be for you. Certainly not all of them are for me, but I regard the thing as like a menu in a restaurant. You know, as you go down the menu, you're going to sort of see things that you definitely like and you definitely consider, or even have other things where you yeah, don't know about that. Just regard this Greater Reset event as a menu. You don't have to sort of agree or take on board everything, but just pick and choose. And if someone resonates with you, sort of go and follow their own personal websites, which I'm going to do. As I say, those couple of the Grow Network and the Liberty on the Land ones definitely kind of resonated with me, and I'll be checking those out in the coming days and weeks. So I'll leave it there. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.